wondering, what is the easiest way for me to water my all-natural lawnmowers? So I'm going to show you the easiest way we found to do it. It's not the cheapest way, but it is the least labor intensive. Now in the summer, our horse's favorite watering spot is this, which basically just fills with rainwater off the roof, off the tin roof. And for whatever reason, they like this water the best. Now for us, our house is up there. It's about 120 feet or so from here to where the hose is. And maybe some of y'all like coming out here and chipping this thing out and filling it with buckets in the winter and dealing with hoses that freeze up. But in Nova Scotia, it gets pretty cold and we just don't want to deal with that. So I got in my pick 'em up truck and moseyed on over to Princess Auto, which is our Canadian version of Harbor Freight, but evidently sells no princesses or auto parts. And I picked up this Thirst Quencher 3600, and it is a heated model. I don't know if the light's on. Yeah, the light looks like it's on, so it's heating right now. And this thing will keep the water nice and toasty. Now this thing on a real cold Canadian day, we're talking like -20 or so, will have more steam coming off it than a clan of teenagers vaping outside your local high school. So I will show you kinda how we got this wired in here. So open it up. So it's got a plug here that we ran electrical to, and I got the water pipe coming up through a piece of conduit. And I also have a piece of heat tape that's got a sensor here that goes down the pipe and it just auto-fills. And it's got like a little floaty in it, kind of just like your toilet, and it'll just stop once it gets to the proper level. Now the process to install this was, the first thing we did is I poured a little mini slab here with a few bags of concrete, made a little form here, left the form on for extra protection. Not really sure why I did that, but I was probably also just too lazy to take it off. I'm not really sure what it's protecting. But, so I made that, and then we had to dig the trench. So this is where we had to dig the trench all the way from here, about 120 feet up to the house there. And you might think that the smartest thing would be, let's rent a mini excavator or hire somebody and we can dig this thing in one day. No, that is not what we did. We had a BX23S that had a mini backhoe, and I thought that that would be the smarter thing to do. So I turned a one-day job into a 2-week, arduous, boiling hot, in the middle of the summer, heat wave, hell on earth, trenching expedition. And we had to deal with all kinds of lime rock in here, which the little backhoe did not like going through. And so parts of the trench are 4 feet deep, which is kind of required in Nova Scotia for the frost level. But there's some sections through here that are about 2.5 feet. So generally it's probably fine. I ran heat tape on this end and on that end just to be safe, to make sure we didn't get any freezing. So in the trench I used, I think it's maybe 1 1/4 well pipe, and ran that through the bottom of the trench, and then put 1/2 inch PEX water pipe through there with heat tape attached on each end. And then we like put some beer cozy, whatever kind of thing around here just to help with a little bit more insulation. And then it's plugged in with the sensor here for the heat tape. So then I also backfilled about a foot of dirt in, and then I also ran this electrical I think it's a 10 gauge just to get a 15 amp breaker or 15 amp service out into the shelter. Ran that in through the trench too, which it also acts as a tracer. So if you ever had to locate the water line, because it's PEX and well pipe, there's nothing metal, so you couldn't metal detect it. So the electrical line gives you a tracer to find it if you ever had to locate it again. And the reason I use the well pipe instead of just having the PEX directly in the ground, because what I found is you can apparently do that, just put PEX in the ground, but there's a lot of rock that I was throwing back in there, so I wanted a little bit of extra protection. I didn't want the PEX breaking, and I was gonna have the heat tape along the pipe as well, so I figured it'd be a little bit more protected as well. So is this the cheapest way to do water for your livestock? Heck no. It probably costs me like $50 to, I don't know, $100 on electrical, because you got the heat tape that's probably like on that end like 700 or 800 watts, and then one on this end is even bigger, so it's probably 1500 watts, and I think the heater is probably like 1500 watts on the actual watering trough. So yeah, it's not a cheap way to heat it, but I don't do anything. Like, the water is just always there. I don't have to, it's one less thing I have to worry about. So I think it's worth it for that. And now I just have to feed them. So if I could figure out some kind of automatic feeder, it'd be all set. But then I don't get to say hi to the horses either, so there's that downfall. But anyway, so that's my thoughts. It's not for everybody. Everybody can't probably afford to do that. But for us, it was our best option. Anyway, talk to you later. Have a gooder.